Back to another album review. Today's review is on the soundtrack for John Wick Chapter 4. Now, before I talk about it, I'm going to briefly talk about the movie. This is the long-awaited fourth entry in the John Wick series. It was originally supposed to come out in 2021, but it got postponed by 2 years because of the pandemic and those terrorists known as anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers. Fortunately, the film was finally released in 2023. It's generally regarded as the best in the series, and also the most financially successful. I also think it's the best movie of 2023. And now for the soundtrack. It was produced and composed by our good friends Tyler Bates and Joel J. Richard. It was released on March 24th, 2023 on Lakeshore Records. It was initially exclusive to digital and streaming. The physical release came out several months later, though some tracks were excluded from the physical release, and they could have just easily put everything on 2 discs. Anyways, the producers for Lakeshore Records were Brian McNellis, Darren Blumenthal, and Tara Finnegan. Now to talk about the songs, even though some of them are out of order. This review will contain spoilers from the movie, so watch this review at your own risk. The beginning of the soundtrack is Big Wick energy. Basically, John is getting ready to kick some ass, which is what he does best. The next track is Nowhere to Run by Lola Colette. The song was played during one of the scenes in Paris, France, where some dickheads are getting ready to try and kill John with Gen 12 shotguns that are loaded with Dragon's Breath rounds. As that is Sandwick. John was in Jordan tracking down the Elder. He blew 3 Jordanians' brains out before encountering the Elder. After discovering that the Elder doesn't have his ring, he blew the guy's brains out in a very satisfying way. That's followed up by Change Your Nature. One scene of the movie has Marquis meeting up with Winston and Sharon. We followed up with Continental Breakfast. One scene has Marquis shooting Sharon in the heart, and he dies from his injury. The fact that Lance Reddick, the actor who played Sharon, passed away from heart disease 1 week before the movie was released just makes the death of Sharon even sadder than it should be. That's followed by Wick in Osaka. John went to Osaka to meet with Shimazu Koji, played by Hiroyuki Sanada, and they got to kick some ass. John even gave him a fist bump in a later scene. We followed up with High Table in Osaka. The Continental in Osaka was deconsecrated, meaning business was allowed to be conducted there. Right after that is Grave Accusation. Shimazu dies during his fight against Kane. The following track is Grief on a Train. John reunites with Akira, played by Irina Sawayama, on a train. Akira was shot in a previous scene, though she survived. The track after that is I Would Die For You by In This Moment. The song is played during the end credits and is the first single from the band's newest album, God Mode, which was released later in 2023. I personally think this is the best song on the whole soundtrack, and one of my coworkers told me that In This Moment is her favorite band. The track that comes next is Of Mincing and Men. One of the more disturbing scenes in the movie is when Marquis stabbed Mr. Nobody in the hand, and the way the knife was removed is kind of hard to watch, despite the fact that I can't take my eyes off the screen. The track that follows is A Grave Situation. Winston negotiated with John to get him to face off against Kane in a duel just to stop the High Table from coming after him. The track that comes after that is Kill His Teeth. John went to Berlin to kill Killa and extract one of his teeth so he could bring it to Kadia Jovanovic. What's after that is Ambition and Worth. I need to mention that the success of the movie is what caused the entire franchise to have grossed over $1 billion. What's next is Dog Lover. Mr. Nobody has his dog with him, and his dog helps him to kick some ass. What comes next is Stairs' arrival. Turns out that the dickheads who are trying to kill John aren't the only enemies that he has. It's also the stairs. What follows is Marie Dokor, Marie Color by Amanda and Hollander. It's actually a cover of the song Painted Black by Rolling Stones. Though this cover is in French because John was in the real Paris in France, not the shitty one in Texas. What comes after that is John Wick Rises. You can't stop that guy from going postal. The next track is Paris Radio Intro. The title is self-explanatory, and the song is awesome. After that is Chess Club. I haven't played chess since I was in elementary school. Right after that is Quite the Mess You Made. John has killed literally hundreds of dickheads over the course of the entire franchise. Next up is the XX Chapter 3. There's one thing that John is good at. It's blowing people's brains out. Up next is Arc de Triomphe. John was battling a bunch of shitheads who were trying to kill him by the Arc de Triomphe. Fortunately, there were no civilian or dog casualties, though some civilian vehicles were damaged. We followed up with Secure Kower Sunrise. John made it to where he was supposed to have the duel with Kane. That's followed by Pistol Procession. John and Kane were given dueling pistols and loaded them. After that is 10 Paces. John and Kane shot each other multiple times during the duel. Next track is 20 Paces. Kane shot John in the abdomen, but John didn't shoot. It was satisfying to see him blow Marky's brains out. It was definitely the most satisfying death scene in the whole movie. I suppose that's karma for Bill Skarsgård starring in the remake of The Crow. All jokes aside, Bill is a good actor, but I'm not going to watch The Crow remake. The second to last track is Hell in a Handbasket. The final scene of the movie has John buried next to Helen, with Winston and Bowery King having a conversation. John's dog is upset, though we don't know whether or not John is really dead. The ending of the soundtrack is Eye for an Eye by Rina Sawayama. And the song is played during at the very beginning of the end credits. The movie is actually where Rina made her acting debut. Not only did she prove she can act, but also kick ass as well. This isn't even all the songs that are in the movie because Lake Castlevania released an EP called Himmel und Hall on March 31st, 2023 on Lakeshore Records. The first track is Blood Code. John, Kane, and Mr. Nobody were kicking some German ass while John was hellbent on getting one of Keela's teeth. The next track is Wet Work. John actually killed more Germans than Jordanians in the film. The second to last track is A Long Way Down. The fight against Keela was pretty intense. It was satisfying to see John put that son of a bitch out of his misery. The last track is Osaka Funk. This was played during the first shot in Osaka. I couldn't find any information on how the soundtrack or the EP did commercially, but I have seen a lot of people really like them. Now for my thoughts. I think this is a really good soundtrack, and I feel like the EP is sort of an expansion of it. I still think that Lakeshore Records could have put everything on 2 discs, but this is better than nothing. I actually included this on my list of the best albums of 2023. Even though we didn't see John being buried, the team could find a way to bring the character back if they decide to go through with Chapter 5. Overall, I highly recommend the soundtrack. And now's the part of my question to you. Have you listened to the soundtrack for John Wick Chapter 4? If so, what do you think about it? What's your favorite song from it? Have you seen the movie? Do you think a 5th movie will get made? Let me know in the comments. If you like the video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to press the notification bell to notify you of future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video.